Hello, Westies. Late last week, I was heading up to Kansas City to take in a baseball game featuring my beloved Kansas City Royals. They lost, by the way. Thanks for rubbing that in. And because it's spring in the Midwest, it was raining. I know, shocking, right? I took one of our kids with me so he could see some of his old friends. And as we were driving on the highway, I could see that there were moments where he was getting very tense, especially those moments where I would pass semi trucks. You know what I'm talking about. The rain was steady, but it wasn't the worst driving I've ever been through. But still, I mean, if you're a teenager, you're unaccustomed to rainy driving, it's totally understandable. I can absolutely understand why he thought that was a little bit unsettling. Now, I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but in order to make him feel better, I told him a story about how 5 years ago I had driven down to Austin to do some work, and how on the way back, once I hit the Oklahoma-Kansas border on I-35, I spent the rest of the trip. It was 5-6 hours worth of this with just sheets and sheets of rain coming down and wind blowing. I mean, it was awful. It was a few steps shy of me needing to pull off for safety. You know those things, but I didn't. I drove. I just slowed down, and I white knuckled it the whole way home. And he said to me, Dad, I can barely see the road right now. How did you do that? How did you stay in your lane and know where you were going? And I told him that my trick in those moments is to always keep an eye on the yellow line on the edge of the road. Right? I may not always know what's coming up ahead on the road, and there's going to be some twists and turns in the highway that I'll just have to take as they come. But that yellow line on the left side of the road, that is always going to be a constant for me. If I can keep my eye on that and keep the car in relation to that line, I know that I'm good to go. This week in worship, we're going to read the story of Nicodemus coming to talk to Jesus. It's a passage a lot of us are familiar with. It's John 3, right? John 3:16. But, and I hope this doesn't shock you, there's a lot more to the story than that one verse is going to suggest. That's the verse that we quote, but there's a lot going on and that leads up to that verse. Nicodemus is a guy who likes to understand things. He likes to be in control of things. And he's not fully understanding what Jesus is talking about when Jesus tells him that the Spirit of the Lord is going to, like the wind, it's going to blow where it wants to. Nicodemus is unsettled by this, and ultimately he wants to know one thing. What's the one thing that I can rely on? So we're going to talk about, for us as Christians, what's the one thing that we can rely on in this crazy, chaotic, sometimes unsettling world that we're living in. Hey, I'm excited to welcome you to worship this week. Just in case you missed the announcement back on Wednesday, the session decided to allow us to follow the CDC's new guidelines starting this weekend. So if you've been vaccinated and would like to remove your mask during worship, please feel free to do so. This is going to be a weird time for us. It's going to be a very weird time for a lot of people. Some people might be nervous about all of this. So I just want to ask you to make sure that we're being good friends to one another, and let's be sensitive with each other in this really weird gray area that we're in for a while. Friends, have a great weekend. See you on Sunday for worship. Bye-bye.